How's it going, good people? I am back with another album review, and this time we're going to be reviewing an album from an artist from a genre that we haven't really covered much on the channel before. It's a brand new album from, in my opinion, probably the most exciting drill rapper to kind of be gaining some big national attention at the moment. That's Headie One, and he's just released a brand new record called Edna. Now, this is not the first project that Headie One has dropped this year. He also dropped a project called Gang back earlier on in 2020 with the producer Fred again. A great record. I really like that. Just came out just after he came out of prison. There were some great features on that album. I thought it was quite experimental. It was a move in a different direction from any drill or grime artists in the mainstream in the UK. On Edna, Headie One is kind of reverting back to his kind of drill and grime roots yet again, and it hasn't got that experimental flavour that it had on Gang, but it is still a pretty good album nonetheless. While in the past Headie One has released mixtapes like Gang, for example, Edna is actually his first album, so it's his debut, and it's an important moment to make a statement about his intentions, kind of as a key player in the rap game at the moment in the UK. There are quite a few songs on this album I really liked. I actually really like Teach Me, the opener. Goes really hard. It's a bit mumbly in places, I feel, but the flow is generally pretty good on that track. I think also Psalm 35 as well is probably one of the deepest, most reflective kind of tracks that we've seen from not only Headie One but in the whole of the genre in general. Talking about his religious upbringing, his contempt for his stepmother. I think also Psalm 35 itself is about, I looked it up, it's about enemies and calling on God to help in one's fight against those who fight against me. I feel like Headie One, like that psalm in particular, might strike a tone with Headie One, and yeah, I just think Psalm 35 is deep. It's also just a good sounding track too. Out of all the tracks on the album, I think my favourite has got to be Princess Cuts, which just makes me want to be straight back at the box at Ministry of Sound on a Tuesday night, listening to this insanely good new tune from Headie One, but featuring Young T and Bugsy as well, who make a great contribution to the track. Ridiculously good vibes on this one, and in my opinion, the best track on the album, hands down. So what I also like on this album as well, two feature tracks from kind of huge international artists. We've got one from US mumble rapper Future. Haven't really heard him on grime beats before, but it goes hard. It goes hard. I think Future's verse on Hear No Evil is one of the best guest features on the album. And I think also Headie's kind of, I don't know if it's the chorus really, but there's kind of a hook that's just really, I don't know, it sounds kind of beautiful. And you don't often, I feel like Stormzy had a bit of that flavour on his album, but in a different sense, because it was kind of gospelly. This is just, it is still in that grime flavour. I also really like Try Me with Skepta. Always good to hear Skepta on a track, especially with Headie One, because I feel like the tones of their voices really complement each other. Try Me is just is going to be a classic drill tune as well. I also introduced to a new artist on this album as well. It's always nice when artists bring on smaller artists particularly onto a debut album as well, because it's kind of I don't know, it's a sign of maturity, especially in rap and grime. I feel like mentorship is such an important part of the creative process and the creative culture. If You Pay Me features Ivorian Doll, who I'd never heard of before, but geez, her that was like her verse on this is insane. And considering I hadn't heard of her before, it was one of the um, best verses on the album from a guest, and really exciting. I listened to the rest of her stuff, and I think she's a really exciting, promising MC in drill. Yumi, nice to hear Mahalia on there because I really like her voice. I think she's got one of the best voices out of any contemporary artist in the UK at the moment. And also Cold as well. I that's my favourite beat on the album, on Cold. Featuring Cash Page as well, who I'd only ever heard on the last Don Toliver record myself. So that track is the final track on the album, and it's proof that you should always listen to an album. If you're going to listen to the album, listen to it to the very end, because you never know, you might miss out a beautiful tune like that. I do have a few kind of qualms about this album though. Ain't It Different is, for me, it's got a good verse from AJ Tracey, good verse from Stormzy. I find the chorus a bit annoying though, and I feel like it's kind of dull and generic pop grime. I don't know if that's really a thing, but I don't know, that song didn't really take my fancy so much. Mainstream as well, I didn't like the beat on that track particularly. 21 Gun Salute as well, I thought was uneventful. Young Edz's flow was better than it usually is in my opinion, but it just didn't strike me as one of the strongest tracks on the record. And in fact, that goes for most of the other ones I haven't mentioned. They're kind of meh tracks, album fillers, but you get that with every album, so I mean, I'm not really grumbling too much. Least favourite track on the album, it's got to be Only You Freestyle featuring Drake. I don't know, the beat is alright. I think Headie's verse as well is reasonably good. I don't know, something about Drake's verse just irritates me as well. Yeah, Only You Freestyle I'm not so fussed about, really. But overall as an album, I think this is an important moment as well, especially as I feel like we're maybe getting close to a point where there's a certain degree of saturation of the market with grime artists. It's going to get to that stage that indie bands got to, where there were just too many indie bands all sounding the same. Headie One has firmly cemented himself as having a unique sound. His voice is unique. It's not like Headie is churning out the same verses every time, or the same style of verse as well. He mixes up his flows quite well. And I think it's a really strong debut album from him. It's also testament to how much a lot of these kind of bigger players in grime and hip hop see Headie One, because obviously Stormzy's on this album, Skepta's on this album, people like Future as well. These are huge artists, and I think having them on the record is testament to Headie One. It's a really good album. The only kind of thing I'd maybe had been hoping a bit more for was having seen Gang, was that experimental flavour. I would have liked to have seen that a bit more on Edna. I think it would have set this album apart from his peers and contemporaries more. But I just think it's a very good album, very good debut album in particular. And because of that, it gets a solid 8. Not 8 plus, not 8 minus, just an 8. I think mixing things up in the same way that he did with Gang would have made it a bit better. Also, just getting a wider variety of artists on board. A lot of the artists on this track are either in grime or drill, or US hip hop, or in R&B anyway. Gang, for example, had Jamie XX, had Sampha. I thought that really mixed the album up a bit, and it showed Headie One's diversity a lot more in terms of his ability. So that's what's missing, but I'm very, very pleased with this album. and I think it shows a lot of promise for what Headie One will be able to deliver in the future. So that is what I think of the album. If you disagree with me, please don't leave a dislike. Instead, just let me know in the comments what you're thinking. Constructive criticism to my critique of Headie One's album is also much appreciated. And also I just want to hear what you guys have to think about this album too, because it's a really solid record. If you're new to the channel, you want to see some more, please subscribe, please hit the like button below, and if you're sticking on YouTube for a bit, maybe consider watching a few of these videos here. But yeah, thank you for watching.